Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the National E-Learning Center podcast series about digital credentials to promote trusted online learning for all. Today, credentials play a critical role in recognizing the competencies earned by the learners, especially with the phenomenal growth of online learning for upskilling and reskilling. It is essential for us to understand the role of digital credentials in the life learning process and ecosystem. So, in this special podcast series, we will explore aspects of credentials from innovation, standards, and policymaking, and their impact on bridging between the labor market demand and supply from the perspective of academia and industry. Today, we are thrilled to be joined by a special guest, Noah Geisel, Microcredential Program Manager at the University of Colorado Boulder. Without further ado, let's welcome our guest to the podcast. Hi, Noah. How are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. Honored to be with you and to share with your audience.
May you please tell our listeners more about yourself?
My name is Noah Geisel. Like you said, I work at the University of Colorado Boulder, and I work in a position dedicated to something I'm really passionate about, which is microcredentials and the opportunities to capture storytelling and recognition to help our learners and connect them with opportunities based off of their assets.
You're fortunate to be working in something you're passionate about. So, what is your first-hand experience in designing microcredentials?
Yeah, I first got started in this space, frankly, out of frustration as a K-12 to high school Spanish teacher working in public school systems where they were talking about, on one side, all of the skills and competencies that were going to matter in order for students to achieve their successful futures, and then turning around and measuring performance off of things that did not align with that. And so, going back about 10, 12 years, I started to just get frustrated and start thinking, what if these things that they're saying really matter could be measured? And what if we could start to notice, name, and credential those things? And so, that led me to some experimentation and going on Twitter and finding other people who were playing in this space, and had a chance to work on some really cool projects in everything from preschool through 12th grade in the American K-12 education system to working with after-school programs like a group in New York City that's doing competencies in the film industry and connecting young people, with competencies that then lead to paid apprenticeships and actual employment opportunities within an industry that's actually very difficult to normally get a foot in the door in. And so that led me to continuing to just be involved in community and connecting with other thought leaders in the space, and started a conference about this stuff called The Badge Summit. And then a little over 2 years ago, I saw that a top university that just happens to be very close to where I live was posted a position for microcredential program manager. And I showed the job posting to my wife, and I think I need to apply for this.
Lucky to work in what you're passionate about. Noah, your fears do matter. Sometimes frustration and passion lead to creativity. You have a unique experience. You had the chance to work with K-12, explore skills, competencies, as well as you were involved in building actual employment opportunities. And now, with higher education. You've been through it all. So, tell us, what are the quick wins?
Yeah, and I don't want to imply that there's silver bullets, but quick wins are important, right? It can be so just validating to get those quick wins right out of the gate, because otherwise, we're taking on new things, we're trying to, kind of shift things in a lot of ways, and that can be frustrating and deflating. And so when we can find those opportunities for quick wins, I think we should take them. And so, one of the places for quick wins, especially I think in higher education and vocational education, is looking at things that we already have that might be microcredentials. We're just not yet calling them microcredentials. And so what I mean by that is seeing, programming and learning opportunities, once we come up with a structure for what is a microcredential in our institution, what do we already have that might fit that mold? And because you're just going to be able to avoid so many other complicated governance, kind of decisions and just things that are not quick to win, right? Because these things are already approved. They've already been vetted. They've already been validated. And you're able to just kind of repackage them as this new thing. And so that's one of the really great quick wins, I think. And then I think another big quick win is, when you can find things for which there can be a degree of currency and value to the credential. And what I mean by that is, somebody who looks at it and values it and says, I will recognize that and open up a door of opportunity as a result, for example. So, maybe it's, letting learners know, hey, if you earn this credential, here is this organization that will, guarantee you an interview, or here's this organization that will, open up an opportunity for you to go to a job shadow. Things like that offer incentives and clear value to a learner who might otherwise raise their hand and say, why should I care about this? To make that really clear to them. This is why you should care about this. And I think that's just two quick examples of quick wins. On one hand, I make it sound so simple and like it's a quick win. On the other hand, it depending on our approach, it could be a huge undertaking, that involves a lot of decision makers. And so I think that specific to the quick win side, I think it's looking at, what are opportunities that are, involve very few people having to weigh in and make a decision, right? And then I guess the other thing is, how might we do it in ways that rhyme with ways they're already doing things. So we're bringing to them these brand new, shiny, conceptually maybe abstract things that feel like a big change. How might we package them in ways where the change is just a few words? It's what we're calling it, but it's functionally very similar to what you're already doing. We're just doing it in ways that we think might take what you're already doing and add all this extra value. I guess something for an example could be there's a scholarship opportunity and saying, here's this credential that we think represents the type of learning and competency that we want to see the earners of the scholarship have. And so we're going to say people who earn this scholarship are who get to the front of the line to apply, or who get this credential, are people who get to the front of the line to apply for this scholarship. That's not guaranteeing them that they get the scholarship, but it's saying, creating sort of some exclusivity and clear value that says, we honor this credential and the recognition you got, and we are going to show that by creating something of value in return.
I do agree with you. It would be much easier for the industry to recognize these micro-credentials if they could benefit from its outcomes. From your point of view, what are the challenges?
There's so many challenges with anything, that's different. And, I think that especially in education, one of the things that we can get ahead of ourselves and lose is that it's change management, right? And so regardless of what it is, that we're changing with credentials, there's just certain things that are going to be the same kind of risk factors or success measures with any kind of a change, right? And so, not thinking ahead of who does this impact is a big challenge, right? Because those are people who later on, when they're impacted, are going to say, why is this the first time I'm hearing about this, right? And so, going ahead on the front end and identifying those stakeholders, inviting them to the table to collaborate and be thought partners, and have a voice in shaping how things develop so that by the time there's impact, know that they helped shape what that impact would look like. And it was done with them, not to them.
Going back to the industry, do you see their involvement plays a critical role in designing programs that offer micro-credentials?
100% I do, yeah. It doesn't, I want to be clear that I don't think that it has to happen. I do think that in cases when it does, that there's a huge potential with that, because at a certain point, we're going to have learners who might question the utility of a credential. And so if we're able to say, especially if those learners are seeking the credential with the end goal of it opening up employment opportunities for them. And so, rather than us in education imagine, well, these are the types of credentials that are going to get them what they need in order to get the job, that there's a little bit of hubris in that kind of attitude, right? And so we can be humble, we can take a step back and actually reach out to industry, reach out to the employers who are going to be offering those job opportunities and ask them, what do you need to see from our earners, or our learners, so that they end up working for you? And maybe, how might we co-design with you? Do you want to be our partners in actually looking over our curriculum and giving input and collaborating? Because, I think we're doing a great service to our learners when we collaborate with industries such that, they know they're investing their time, they may be investing money, they're investing their effort to pursue these credentials. And if we can give them reasonable assurance that these credentials are going to lead to jobs, or lead to them achieving whatever their goal was for pursuing this credential, then, it's almost foolish to not take advantage of the opportunity to collaborate with industry to do that.
Actually, this leads to a question. Do you have a success story to share with us about micro-credentials and the industry?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, and there's also people who are way better, to answer this than I am. But one great example, for me is going back to some work in Aurora Public Schools, and for students who were earning credentials in 21st century skills, and they may be thinking, why should I earn this? Who cares? And it's one thing for the teacher to say, well, because you should be intrinsically motivated to learn, right? And that they might say, well, that's not good enough, right? And so we had one student who's, earned this, and then the value proposition, that currency that we talked about, was that they, in recognition of their critical thinking badge, they got to go do a job shadow at a experienced design firm where they were doing UX and UI design, and so this young student learned about a career that they'd never heard of. They had this great experience with the people there and it was only a few hours, and the person's saying, oh, you might be interested in this. You're into video games. There's a lot of jobs in our world for doing video games. And the kid said, really? And, a couple hours later, the kid leaves with a book, they handed him a book and said, you might want to read this. And, all of a sudden this young person went from, getting a credential that recognized some of the skills they demonstrated in school to having a really clear picture in their mind of how that skill connects to a job that they had previously never heard of, but all of a sudden were really excited to be when they grow up.
Inspiring story. Thank you, Noah, for sharing your unique experience with us.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the National E-Learning Center podcast with your host, El Hanouf. We hope you enjoyed our episode about micro-credentials and the future of education. To hear more about our digital credentials, join us on our next episode. As always, you can visit our website, nelc.gov.sa, to know our news. And don't forget to check our resources page. That's it for now. See you next time.